Hey, what's up everyone? Johnny the Geek here. Welcome to yet another live build, right? This time a little bit newer, a little bit more improved from the last live build. And if you're joining me, I can do answer some comments now, because I know how to use the software a little bit more. Before there was comments, people were asking me questions, but I couldn't see them because I didn't know how to use the software. So now I do. And comparing to the last live video, the camera equipment was worse because I was using some Android phones and devices and IP streaming and all that stuff, and it wasn't all that great. So now I'm using webcams, right? A little bit better, a little bit higher quality. I'll be trying to switch through them. Hopefully things don't freeze and die on me, like I've had some bad experiences with trying to record multicam and switching between all the cameras. But nonetheless, here we are with the live build, and I'll be talking about all the parts, where I got them from, how much I got them for, and it's a very basic, simple kind of a build system here, mainly because if I screw things up or break something, that I'm not gonna really ruin that much of expensive equipment or anything like that. So a lot of these parts might be kind of obsolete, right? And there's a reason for it. I'll get to that in a little bit. But pretty much this isn't something that I do on a regular basis, like live shows or anything like that. I'm not all that great when it comes to live, so it's just something that I just felt like doing today because I happen to have all these parts here, and I figured, why not, right? And but if you want to check out better videos, I'll be definitely coming out with that, with better hardware, more high-end stuff. If you want to check out my last build guide, that's on my main channel. All that stuff, links to it will be in the description later on in this channel right here, as well as all the parts and everything. All right, and so without further ado, let's go ahead and get right into the parts here, and starting with the motherboard. And I'll go ahead and let me just change. Here's one of the camera angles that I'll be using, and here's another one, and here is the Skycam view, which I'll probably be doing using the most here. And so starting with the motherboard here, we have the MSI FM2 A85XA-43, and so I picked this up at a Fry's. And those of you who follow me on Instagram at Johnny the Geek, you'll know that I posted a photo of how much this cost me here, and it was a whopping $16, right? Yes, that's right, 16 US dollars. And I picked it up from a Fry's, and it's a display item, right? And it's obsolete. It's at FM2, right? There's FM2 Plus out right now, and there's probably going to be FM3 and FM3 Plus coming out real soon. Hopefully, maybe, I don't know. Maybe they'll kill off this whole platform. I don't know. But anyways, $16, right? Can't go wrong, whether it worked or not. I mean, it had a 14-day return policy, so I tried it out, and yeah, it booted up, right? How long will it work? I don't know. This thing was just hanging on the wall. And the downside to getting display models is that you're not going to get any of the hardware or like cables or anything like that it comes with. There was a lot of things that it actually came with and it didn't come with, and especially the I/O shield. But you know, hey, $16, can't beat that. All right. So what I like about this board is that it's full-size ATX, and which, you know, you don't really see too often in this type of form factor. You usually see smaller motherboards for this. It has 4 DIMM slots here, which is nice, dual channel DIMM slots, and it has 2 PCI Express slots here, by 16 full speed, and then a by 8. So it crossfire configuration is totally doable on here, right? And then you got 3 PCI Express 1 slots, and then a couple of PCI slots here. You got a lot of SATA connections right here, right? So you got 6 on the side here, as well as 2 more, total of 8 PCI Express slots, right, for adding a lot of hard drives. What else? Oh, the I/O. We got keyboards, a couple of USB 2.0 ports, 2 more down here, and then gigabit Ethernet, and then we have the DVI, VGA, HDMI, SPDIF out audio, high definition audio out, a couple of USB 3.0 ports, then your audio jacks here, 5.1 channel audio right there, right? And this typically you will be tapping into an APU and not a CPU like I have, and I'll get to that in a little bit. But usually you're going to be, if you want to utilize these video ports here, you have to use an APU, which is a CPU with integrated graphics on there built into it to utilize these. Otherwise, if you don't have it, then these things just don't work. They don't have onboard graphics, integrated graphics, or like anything like that. It has to use the integrated graphics inside of the processor, right? And so that's pretty much it. One thing to note, if you're ever looking at motherboards, by 16 slots, if you like look really closely into the slot here, you'll see that there are like connections, pins that go all the way across, right? And that's how you know it's a full by 16. And then a by 8, which is half of that, you'll see the pins go only halfway, and you can kind of see it here, sort of, right? The shiny metal bits inside. And then they have a 4x4 speed, and then they have a by 1 speed, which is what these are right here, right? And so the 16 and 8, that's what you want to plug in graphics cards in. By 4s and 1s are usually like sound cards or RAID controller cards with adding more SATA ports and stuff like that. So that's something to look into when you're trying to plan out what kind of a board you want. All right, and yeah, that's pretty much it. Got USB 3.0, which is nice. This case that I'm using has USB 3.0 on it. And so moving on to the processor, we are using the Athlon X4 750K, and so this is a CPU, not an APU, with built-in graphics, right? And so this was $80 from Amazon and pretty much anywhere else, right? And so it's compatible with this particular motherboard here. It's a base clock of 3.4 gigahertz with a turbo boost to 4 gigahertz, which is pretty nice. And essentially this is an APU, but for whatever reasons they disable the graphics in it, and then they make it cheaper, right? So this is $80. If it had the APU on there, it could be all the way up to 130 or 150 when it first came out with those APUs. So it's really good if you're going to be using your discrete graphics cards and you're not really going to use the integrated graphics. If you're going to use something like this, then you won't need the integrated graphics because it's way more powerful than the integrated graphics. So they make it cheaper, right? And I'm not sure if anybody really knows why they do that, whether it's because maybe the graphics chips on there didn't pass quality control and they're like, we'll just turn it off and then we'll sell it to them cheaper without the graphics built into it or whatever, right? And when it's in a box like this, you can tell that it also has an integrated, or stock cooling fan, and that's what I will be using, stock cooling on here, right? And moving on to the RAM, we have Kingston HyperX 1600 megahertz RAM, and so this was an open box item from Amazon, from their Amazon warehouse, and it was $70, right? It was $71 and some change or something like that, and it's 8 gigs, right? And 1600, it's fine for what we're going to do since we just have a CPU. But typically in APUs with integrated graphics on the chip, you want to use faster memory, right? You want to use something like a 1866 megahertz or 2133 or 2400. Well, not really 2400, but 1866 is the sweet spot usually for price to performance, because the integrated graphics uses the memory for its video buffer, right? So faster memory it improves performance on the integrated graphics side, right? And there's a lot more than that to it, but 1600 megahertz for this particular build, perfectly fine. All right, and so moving on to the cheap stuff, I guess, the hard drive here that I'm using, Western Digital Blue, it's 500 gigahertz. I had this laying around for a while, and so I don't remember how much I paid for it, but it was probably 50 bucks, which is what the 1 terabytes are right about now. So of course you want to get the 1 terabyte ones, and this is probably the bare minimum of a rotating spindle hard drive that you want to get, and you can get the Western Digital Blacks if you want. That's a little bit faster, high performance, but for the budget friendly stuff, don't get any greens to be your main boot drive, or reds or purples, whatever Western Digital colors there are. You want to get either the blue one or the black one, which is fine, unless you find some amazing deal on a red. But yeah, you can get 1 terabytes now for about 50 bucks, brand new. And you can find them on the open box refurbished, or not refurbished, but open box and warehouse type of deals for like $35 to $45, right? Moving on to the power supply, the next cheap thing. This is a Senti 525 watt power supply, right? It's enough to power all this stuff and probably add in one more GPU that's the same as this, right? Or powering something that's a little bit more powerful than this. It's 525 watts, and when I got it, it was 30 bucks, but I think they went up in price. I got it when it first came out, and now they're about $35. This right here has a 3-year warranty, which is pretty nice. Hopefully I don't ever have to deal with the with the warranty, because I don't know what kind of a company this is with the warranty deals. And so it's an inexpensive power supply, right? There's going to be kind of a crapshoot, right? I don't know, you look at the reviews and stuff like that to see what people have had experiences. Some are going to say, oh, this thing burnt out, you know, in the first day or whatever, but I've ran it for a few weeks in other systems, and it seemed to have run fine, but I didn't really tax it that hard, right? So maybe that's what I'll do with this system here. All right, so next is the graphics card here, and so this is the Asus Direct Cu2 260X, right? And so when I bought this, it was brand new, first came out, and it was 150 bucks. That's what it cost me. But in today's prices, you could see them for about $100, right? $100, $115 around there. Maybe after some mail-in rebates and stuff like that. I doubt if it'll come with any free games. Who knows? Maybe it will. But for what I paid, of course, for $150 nowadays, you can get a 750 Ti from NVIDIA, or a 270 or 265X, right? Which are a little bit better than this. And so this graphics card, you could run most modern games at around 720p, right, on medium to high settings, that type of thing, right, depending on what game. But if you shell out a few more extra bucks, like around $150 range, you could definitely get a 270 for that price. I've seen them for that. I've seen 270s go for about $125 to $150, and you can run most modern games on high settings on 1080p resolution, right, with the 270s and the 270Xs and stuff like that, right? But that's what I'm rolling with here, and it'll definitely play Minecraft just fine, right? All right, so oh, the case. Yeah, let me talk about the case here, and let me switch over to this camera. So the case, what I'm using here is a Tesseract, right, by Deepcool, and so this was 30 bucks from Newegg, and it was free shipping out to my area. I live very close to Newegg. We're both in the LA area, right? And so they were able to offer me free shipping on here. If you buy this, you know, and you're across the country from Newegg, might cost you some shipping, right? Then it might not be really worth it. So see if you can get them for free shipping from somewhere. But anyways, this thing is a budget case. It was $30, right? $30, and you know, I was thinking between this or the NZXT Source 210, but I didn't really like that case. I like this, that it's a very straight, basic design. The NZXT has this like little angled crookedness to it, and I don't know, the OCD in me just kind of doesn't like the way that stands out, right? But this is it's a nice case. It's a full front mesh here for airflow to be able to go in. These are ventilation, right? So there's more air that can go in here, so it's really good. Got a USB 3.0 connection, a USB 2.0. This whole front here is a little satin kind of feel to it, right? And which is pretty nice. And got some side ventilations here. And they come in a variety of colors. They also come in white, which actually looks pretty nice. And the whole thing is painted black on the outside, black on the inside. and they also have one with a window on there, and that one's like $5 more. All right, the white one's also $30. I didn't really like the side panel window; it just didn't do it for me. Anyways, so that's the case, $30, free shipping from Newegg, and it was a good deal, right? So yeah, that's pretty much it for talking about the parts here. Before I actually get it all in there and sort of kind of half build this, I'm actually going to do a boot up from the while everything's outside of the case, right? A lot of build guides, a lot of the guys out there, they all say, yeah, you know, you should test your parts outside of the case before putting it in there, because if something doesn't work out right, you got to take it all apart, take it out, and then you got to deal with it and send something back or whatever. So it's good to test everything out here. And so I'm going to kind of show you just that, right? Everybody talks about it, but nobody actually really does it, right? And so let me change the camera angle here to the top view. Don't freeze on me. Okay. All right. So the first thing I'm going to do actually is I'm going to install the CPU. And so let me just move this into position here, and then I actually got to zoom in, enhance. Whoa, that's a little too much. All right. Alrighty. Hopefully that's a good view for you guys there watching at home. Nice and close up, super zoomed. And so I'm going to go ahead and take out the processor here. Right. I guess I should have showed you this beforehand. And so here is the processor. We'll take this out very carefully. You got to be very careful because there's pins that you don't want to drop this. And for the purpose of demonstration, I'm just doing it like this. Very unsafe. By the way, I'm grounded with an anti-static strap, but it's tied to my ankle, right? Okay, so here's the processor, and what I'll be doing is I'll be lifting up this arm right here, and if you notice right in the bottom corner here, there's a tiny little arrow there, right? And so on the CPU itself, there's also a tiny little arrow. And what you're going to want to do is you're going to gently place the CPU, right? And it doesn't require you to push the CPU in. It'll just kind of just guide itself right into there, right? And so once you do that, you can lower the arm here. This is called the Zero Insertion Force socket, or ZIF socket, right? And so that's pretty much it for installing the CPU there. We'll get to the fan in a little bit, and what I'm going to actually do next is install, actually no, you know what, I'll go ahead and install the fan. And the fan is included into the system, like I mentioned earlier. And so it's also, when it's brand new box retail, it has thermal paste on it, right? So that's the thermal paste on there. No need to apply any more. Okay, but if for some reason there wasn't thermal paste, or you want to take it off and you want to use your own thermal paste that's better, then what you could actually do is, well, let's say that's all cleaned off, or you want to clean it off, you use isopropyl alcohol, and let's say that this was the thermal paste here. There's a really good quality Arctic MX2 thermal compound if you can find a really good deal on it. But anyways, you would want to put a line of thermal paste across the middle here, right? Just a little line, just the width of whatever comes out of the tube, right across the middle here. That's pretty much in the same direction as the text as you read it up there, right? And so what I'll do now is just put this straight down onto the CPU, and then there is a latch on this side. Oh, let's see if I can see that there, right? And then there's another one on here. Let's bring this down. And in my other video, my build video, that's better angles, so you can see exactly what I'm doing. So then you just flip this over, And then we'll go ahead and do a little loopy loop here and attach the CPU fan like so, right? And this could have went into one of these as well. Well, it's a 4-pin connector, right? And you could actually also plug it into a 3-pin if that was all that was around. All right, so with that there, now we can go ahead and install the RAM, and I have to flip this around this way. All right, so looking at the RAM here, if you notice that there are 2 blue and 2 blacks, right? So if you notice on the motherboard here, there's a little some information. These are Dimm slots, right? So here's a little guide right on the motherboard there printed. It says Dimm 1, Dimm 2, Dimm 3, Dimm 4, right? And sometimes some motherboards, if you have dual channel motherboards, you can put them on like the Dimm 1 and, or it might say A1 and B1 and then A2 and then B2, right? And those you want to put it on like A1 and B1, and then yeah. So on this particular one, right, if you notice also it says first next to it. Oh, there's more people. All right, so if you notice it says first is on the Dimm 2 and Dimm 4. So this is Dimm 1, as you know, the top one there is Dimm 1. This is Dimm 1, the next one is Dimm 2, this is Dimm 3, and this is Dimm 4. So it's telling you that it wants you to put RAM onto the Dimm 4 and, or I'm sorry, the Dimm 2 and the Dimm 4 slots right there, right? Because it's indicated telling you first, right? And you know, go through the manual, see why, or what it is specifically. If it doesn't say anything, if it doesn't say first there, right, it doesn't give you any clear indication, still look at the manual, because if you put it into 1 and 3, right, 1 and 3, the blue ones here, it might not boot up, right? So find out which one it's supposed to be. So now since I opened up these tabs here, now I can go ahead and install the RAM. And if you look at the RAM, there is a notch here, and if you look on the slot, there is a slot right there, right there. It's easier to see on the blue one, but you basically line those up, you insert the RAM, and you press straight down, and then the tabs itself will kind of push itself in on its own as you're pushing down, and it'll kind of click there. Just can make sure that it's in, and then same thing for the other. Now if you have 4 sticks and they're all exactly the same, just it doesn't matter, you put them in the 1, then 2, then 3, then 4, right? Okay, so the CPU and the RAM is now installed, so let me go ahead and unenhance the shot here. All right, let's do a little bit of cleaning up, getting rid of all this stuff here. All right, so next what we're going to do is, since we're going to fire this thing up outside of the case here, what we can do now is, well, we'll actually just plug in the graphics card here. So you kind of want this, and if you have the box, that'd be great, or a box that could support this platform. If you have just a flat surface, you know, hopefully it's an anti-static. But since we're plugging in the card here, and there's a little bit of a metal piece that sticks out here that's normally supposed to go into the case, it's good to have this elevated a little bit. And so inserting the graphics card, it's very much like the RAM. There's a little cut right here, right? And so you're going to be plugging this straight down. Oh, and it's going to hang off the side a little bit, right? And you may have to like push back on this little tab right here, but it was already pushed back. So I'm going to clip that into place. So that's plugged in, and so now I can go ahead and plug in the power. This is the power to the motherboard here, the ATX power, and there's a little hook right here, right? And the little other latch or hook part of it that you plug in, push straight down, and it's slotted in such a way that you can't plug it in the wrong way, right? All right, so plug that in, and then we got the 8-pin power connector, right? And your motherboard could be a 8-pin or a 4-pin. And so the power connector here, you could actually, it could split apart, right? So if your motherboard is just a 4-pin, you could split this apart and you could use just one of them. And you can use either or, any which one that you want to use. And it's slotted in such a way that you can't plug it in wrong either, right? And so it's just like the 24-pin connector. You plug this in, right? So that's plugged in there. And what else? That's pretty much it. Oh, we got to get the video. So I have this monitor right here, and we'll get the video going. Plug in the, I'm using an HDMI cable. Plug this into the card here. Oh, and then of course we also got to power the graphics card, and it's requires one 6-pin connector, right? And so on the motherboard here, I believe the power connector is, or the front panel connector to turn on the motherboard, the connection here is right down on these pins here. And you could, all you got to do is actually, I mean, you could plug in the power button to the connector, but you could actually just start it up by touching the connections here, the proper connections. And the power supply, I don't think it's on. Let me see here. Okay, now it's on. So that line right there indicates that it's on. Circle means that it's off. So turn on the power supply. Let me switch cameras real quick to this, and then we're going to see this thing boot up by touching the right connector. There you go. So, oh, I need to plug in the USB keyboard. Oops. Right? Oh, I actually got to start this up again with the USB keyboard plugged in. All right. And press delete. So there we are. It starts up. It works. And so we can continue on, moving on to actually build it and put it into the case here, right? Let's see here. Oh. All right, so let's go ahead and power this off and unplug this. And push this thing back. Take this out. Unplug the motherboard. And I'm actually just going to leave the CPU and the RAM cooler. I'm leave that all in there. All right. So let's just move this out of the way. Set this aside. All right. So let's look at the case here. And, oh, get rid of this. Set this aside. And back to the top view. Let's go ahead and open up the side panel here. So this case, a couple of side ventilation for 120mm fans or other size fans, which is pretty nice. So looking at the inside, this case already came with the standoffs screwed into it, which is really nice. And normally we would actually be putting in the input-output shield, the I/O shield here, which looks just like this. But like I said, this thing was an open box item, so it didn't come with the I/O shield, right? And so here are all the connections that we can just kind of set aside. We'll get to that in a little bit. And the back panel here, they're not the kind, it's very cheaply made, so you actually kind of have to figure out which ones you're going to be using, and you kind of just bend these back and forth and just break off. Just throw those away. Right, so I'm guessing that these two, it's good to do this now before you get the motherboard in there. It might be a little bit more difficult to do that later on with the motherboard in there, and I'm eyeballing it and I'm guessing that that's what this is, the that's what I have to take off there. All right, and so yeah, that's pretty much it. Oh yeah, we can actually just put the power supply in there first, and I actually have the screws already in there just to kind of held them so I didn't lose them later. Right, and this case has a bottom mounted grill, so I can face the power supply down with the fan facing down here. So go ahead and put that in there, screw this in. And normally I would actually route the power cables behind the tray, but it doesn't really have holes for me to bring the 8-pin connector. So I'm just going to not really pay attention to any of the cable management so much, especially because, you know, you could pretty much spend almost like an hour with cable management. And that will just be extremely boring. All right. So we got that plugged in. Go ahead and take apart this strap here. Let's get rid of it. For now. Right. And then we can go ahead and drop the motherboard in. Go ahead and take this. Oh, let me get rid of this. Right, so you kind of want to go in at a little bit of an angle, and if you had the I/O shield there, line everything up properly. And then checked, oh yeah, you should probably check to make sure that there are standoffs wherever you are putting the motherboard down onto. All right. Okay, so the case came with screws, and where are they? Oh, here it is. It's a bag of screws, all of your hardware here. Lay this all out. And I believe there should be roughly, we'll be using 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 screws and they should be these fine threaded screws. Let me see here. Yep, the fine threaded screws. The power supply used really coarse threaded screws, and normally you want to not tighten everything down so tight until you get all of the screws in there, but for the purpose of time I'm just going to tighten everything down. Let's see here. Oh. Alright, so now let's go ahead and plug the power back in. And you could put the power cord, route the power cord, this ATX power cord here, through here and then out through this side. Maybe I'll do that. It's a little bit time consuming, but just see how it looks. Alright. Oh. Got that there. Then the 8-pin CPU connector, which is going to go across this way, and it's going to lay across this way here, and I'm actually going to put the graphics card over it to hold it down. Right, so then I'll just go ahead and plug in the graphics card. There, and then screw it down too. And this takes the same screws as the power supply, so it's the coarse threaded screws. And if you notice, this whole build, all you need is a screwdriver. Magnetic tip is fine. That's what this screwdriver is. Alright, 6-pin power connector for the graphics card. What else? The system fan. I know there was a header here somewhere. Oh, there it is. System fan right down there. That's kind of... yeah, I'll worry about that later. Right, and then the rest of these cables, we can either kind of tie them up down here, but I actually will need one SATA power and route this to the back for the hard drive. Right, we'll get to that in a little bit. And I'm not using an optical drive, although if you wanted to, they're like $15 now. It's very inexpensive. I just didn't happen to have one on me, but you would pop out, you just put your hand in here, you pop out this front bezel to get the bezel out, so you can insert the optical drive, and then, well, this is to unlock it, and then this is to lock it down, right? So there's no tools. Pretty convenient. And then, so now we'll just plug in all this stuff. This is probably one of the most difficult things to be working on now. And you want to put these cables behind everything. This is where things can get really time consuming, especially when you're trying to do a live video. Come on, you. And this motherboard didn't come with a manual because it was a display model, so I had to look up what the pins are for connecting everything. Oh, so this motherboard here, there's enough room, there's some holes down here, and you want to feed these little cables here through the holes, but that'll just be really time consuming to do each one. I don't really want to put you through all that, so we'll just kind of feed this through this right here. Hopefully I don't rip anything or break anything. Right, hopefully that's enough slack, maybe. I don't think I'll be able to reach the audio. Oh yeah, I could. So I'll start with the audio, right? So all of these connectors here, and let me try to zoom in a little bit. Enhance, enhance, enhance. All right. So here is the audio connector, and it's if you notice here, it's keyed, meaning there's pins or there's holes, and one of them is filled in. And so on the motherboard itself, you'll notice that there's pins and there's one pin missing. So that's how you line it all up. And you want to plug straight down, and you make sure my head's not in the way. You want to plug straight down. You want to be careful not to break any pins, right? Same thing with the USB 2, except the missing pin is on a different spot. This one, the missing pin is at the very end. Right, and there's multiple connections for USB. It says USB 1, USB 2. Funny thing is USB 3 is USB 3.0 connection, but it's the third slot, whatever. And then USB 4. So whichever one it's closest or convenient or whatever, plug that in straight down. All right, so the USB 3.0, this particular one, this is why I like this case. This is the USB 3.0 connection. This is a USB 2.0 connection, right? So if your motherboard didn't have a USB 3.0 header, such as this, you can still use the port for USB 2.0, so the port isn't wasted, which is a nice feature to have. Now, do not plug in both of these, right? It doesn't mean you get a combination of USB 3 and USB 2. USB 3 is already backwards compatible with USB 2, right? So bad things will actually happen if you plug both of these in and you plug in a USB drive into that port, right? So be very careful not to do that. And so there is a key right up on the top there, that little nub, and then there is a slot that you line it up with that's on the port there. And by the way, my other build guide that's on my main channel, it has a much more clear picture of what I'm doing here. Same thing, you want to be very careful, especially because I can't really see what the hell I'm doing. You want to be plugging this straight down into it. All right, so now the front panel connectors. These are the power switch, the reset switch, the LED, power LED, and the hard drive LED, all of that stuff. I'm actually just going to plug in the power switch, right? I'm gonna, because it would just take me too long to just go through every single one of them. And so I had to go online and I had to print out what everything is, right? Here's a better shot, right? So all of these pins here are very in a very specific order of how you plug things in. And so this is the JFP1, and so on the motherboard here, the JFP1 is right over here, this bunch of pins right here, right? And again, it's keyed, so the one on the top right corner is missing. You kind of line that up. And so this one right here for the power switch, it's the number 6 and the number 8 pin, which is basically the 2 pins that's next to the one that's empty, right? So that's all that I'm going to plug in. And the 6 pin, the one that's the one over from the missing pin, right, is the positive terminal connector. So on the plug itself, you'll see, you can kind of barely just see this, but you'll see a little arrow, and that indicates the positive connection, right? So you want to plug that in accordingly. And so let me see if I can see what I'm doing here. These 2 pins, yeah. And again, you want to go straight down. Be very careful not to break the pin. Right. So that's all that I'm plugging in for now. Now what I'm going to do is plug in the hard drives. And really, you could have done most of this in any order. You didn't have to do it in the exact same order as I did, just as long as it kind of just makes sense and things don't get in your way. Right? So what I like about this case, let me zoom out a little bit. All right. What I like about this case is it has 2 drive cages of 3.5-inch drive, 4 of them, and then 3 2.5-inch drive bays for SSDs and whatnot. And I could have chose to put an SSD in here, but like a 128, but really I kind of like the 256 size SSDs, and I didn't have one, so they're coming down in price. They're about like $100 now for a 256 gig. And so yeah, I'll be using just the 3.5-inch, and so this is going to go in this way, and these things don't require screws, but you kind of have to like spread them open and get the little pins inside. Oh, careful not to break anything, right? It is cheap plastic, so that's that right there. And so the connections are going to be facing the other side here. That's where I have the power connector, right? And so on the other side, let me go ahead and flip this over. Here's that power connector that I was using. We'll go ahead and plug that in, and this is slotted in such a way where you just got to line it up. It's kind of like in this little L shape, right? You just plug this straight in. Oh, actually I just plug this like so, straight down. Then we have a SATA cable here, and usually your motherboard is supposed to come with this. This did not come with the motherboard. This is just some extra cables that I had from another system, right? And so I will use the angled on this end here, and again, it's slotted in such a way that you can't plug it in the wrong way, but it is still delicate, and you can easily snap off the SATA connector, or the SATA power connector. I've done that before, where I've plugged it in or unplugged it and just bent it down and then just broke the whole thing, and it was very difficult to get on there. I basically had to super glue the SATA connector to the hard drive, and it's forever, that connector was forever going to be connected to that power connector there. All right, and so we can route this through here. Flip this back over, and all of the ports are pretty much running off of the same controller, so you could pretty much plug it into any connector here. And I'm just going to use one of the side ones here. Let's see, yeah, oh, maybe not. Okay, just make this a little bit more tidier. That's fine. So I'll just go ahead and kind of wrap this up a little bit. Stick one of these around there, which, by the way, this came with the power supply. Just leave that there. Tuck that away again. I'll get to this later. And just do a check here. That's pretty much it, yeah. So we'll go ahead and fire this up, actually. Plug in the video connector. And then my power cord. Where did my power cord go? It fell. Dang it. Where did it go? Oh, great. Of course, it's got to happen when it's live, right? So let me switch camera angles to the monitor. Right, plug in the power here. Turn this on, hit the power switch. Everything fires up. Oh yeah, USB. Hey, look at that. Oh, this hard drive apparently has Ubuntu on it. That's what I did with this hard drive before. Hey, it's actually probably going to boot up because Ubuntu is pretty versatile, and it will somewhat have drivers except for video, because I never installed AMD drivers video on there. Let's see how far this goes into actually booting up into Ubuntu. But anyways, that's pretty much it for this build guide. Hopefully you found that somewhat useful, and it looks like this system doesn't want to boot up Ubuntu, but that's pretty much it. And like I said, the parts list will be in the description. Definitely check out my main channel with the good build videos, or more clear and concise, I guess, build guides on that channel. I also have a second channel where I did an unboxing. I haven't uploaded that video yet, by the way, but by the time, probably tomorrow, I did unboxing of this case, and as well as unboxing of some other random stuff that I get. So my second channel is going to be in the link of the description, but that's called youtube.com/itsgoodtobegeek, and that video is more for unboxing, reviews, and video blogs, just not really showing you how to do stuff, but just talking about technology and stuff like that. And of course, this main channel is youtube.com/johnnythegeek, and that's how-to tutorials and build guides. And so with that said, thank you all for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Wait, hold on. Let's see if there's any questions in the comments here. No, just a lot of trolling, which is fine by me. I don't mind the trolls. More comments means more hits in search results, and more views, and more revenue, right? So troll away, everyone. I don't mind. If anything, the worst thing a troll could do is not say anything. Then I don't get any recognition or search results show up. Cool. All right. Yes, thank you. Catch you guys later. Be sure to follow me, subscribe, share, all that stuff. The good videos, not this one. All right. All right. I'll catch you guys later. Peace.